Hello, my name is Tanya from Nana's Crafty Home. Today's tutorial is going to show you the Larksfoot Crochet Stitch. This stitch is a lot of fun to work with a really unique look. Basically, you are working a long double crochet into a chain space from 2 rows below, which drops that double crochet down, and it gives the look of this lark's foot, a bird's foot, to this stitch. Worked in contrasting colors, or you can also work it in one color, but I do think that changing colors, as I have done here, really highlights this beautiful stitch. This stitch is part of the Spring Rhapsody Blanket Crochet Along Stitch tutorial series. If you are interested in learning more about that stitch sampler blanket, you can head on over to my website to get all the details. I'll have a link below in the description. For today's tutorial, I am using some paint box cotton Aran yarn in 3 different colors, as well as a size H 5.0 millimeter crochet hook. Let's go ahead and get started. This stitch is worked in multiples of 4 plus 1 for the foundation chain. My sample chain will be a total of 29, and with my color A, I'm going to chain my 29. For row 1, I'm going to double crochet in the 4th chain from the hook. Those skipped chains are going to count as my first stitch, and then double crochet in the next chain. Chain 1, skip the next chain, double crochet in the next 3 chains. Chain 1, skip 1, double crochet in the next 3. And that is my stitch repeat for row 1. 1 double crochet in 3 chains, chain 1, skip 1. I've completed row 1. You can see that my last 3 chains I worked a double crochet, and you have these groups of 3 double crochet with a skip chain and a chain 1 in between. We're going to move on to row 2 by turning, chaining 3, double crochet in the next 2, chain 1, skip that chain 1 space, double crochet in the next 3. And that is my stitch repeat for this row. You are chaining 1 and skipping over that chain space from the previous row, and then working a double crochet in each of these stitches. So continue that on down your row. I've completed row 2, and you can see that I have placed a double crochet in each of the double crochet stitches from the previous row, chaining 1 and skipping over each chain 1 space, completing that row with a double crochet in the last 3 stitches, and that final double crochet is worked in those skipped chains from the beginning. Now we're going to change colors, and I'm going to turn and chain 4. There would be my chain 3, and then chain 4. So this chain 4 counts as my first stitch plus a chain 1. We're going to be skipping the next stitch, and I'm going to work a double crochet in the next stitch. Now I'm going to be working a long or elongated double crochet stitch into the chain space from row 1. So I'm going to work it the same as I would a regular double crochet by yarning over, and I'm going to be inserting my hook into that chain 1 space that I made from row 1, and I'm going to reach around, because you're working around those chain spaces, and you're going to yarn over and pull up a loop. You want this loop to be nice and tall, so that when you're finished with your double crochet, it's going to be the same height as the one that you just made. You don't want these stitches to crunch together or bunch together. So I'm going to then yarn over and pull through 2 yarn over and pull through the last two, finishing that double crochet stitch. Then I'm going to work a double crochet in the next stitch, chain one, skip the next stitch, and double crochet in the next. Work a long double crochet into this chain one space, and pull up a nice tall loop, yarn over, pull through two, yarn over, pull through two, double crochet in the next stitch, chain one, skip one, double crochet in the next. And that is my stitch repeat for row 3. And let's take a look at those stitches. So you can see by pulling up a tall loop, it allowed these stitches to not scrunch together, because what ends up happening is if you have, and I'll show you what happens if you don't have a tall enough loop. So if I were to go into this and just make a double crochet and not pull up a tall loop, this is what happens. See the difference between, it bunches all this up, it squishes these together, and you don't get nearly the same look as you do with these nice long double crochet stitches. So that's probably the most important thing to practice with this stitch, is practicing bringing up that tall loop to make your double crochet. And then you're going to just be repeating double crochet in the next, chain one, skip one, double crochet in the next, and just repeat that on down your row. I'm at the end of row 3. I've worked this long double crochet in the next stitch, chain one, skip one, double crochet in that last stitch, which is that chain 3 from the beginning of the previous row. So this stitch is really starting to take shape, and especially since I'm using that contrasting color, you can really see that beautiful long double crochet stitch. So now I'm going to turn for row 4, and again I'm going to chain 4, which counts as my first stitch plus a chain 1. I'm going to skip that chain 1 space and double crochet in the next 3 stitches. Chain 1, skip the chain 1 space, double crochet in the next 3. And that is your stitch repeat for this row. Just continue that on down your row. Chain 1, skip the chain space, double crochet in the next 3 stitches. I've reached the end of that row. I've worked those 3 double crochets. I'm at that chain 4 from the beginning of the previous row. I'm going to skip that next chain, and I'm going to work a double crochet after chaining 1. I'm going to work a double crochet in the top of that chain 3. So for row 4, you are working a chain 1 and skipping each of the chain 1 spaces from the previous row and working a double crochet in each stitch. So for row 5, I'm going to be bringing in color C, turning, chaining 3. Now I have these chain 1 spaces. I'm going to be working my long double crochet into this chain 1 space from row 3. So working it the same way as I did previously, bringing up a tall loop and finishing that double crochet, double crocheting in the next stitch, chaining 1, skipping 1, double crochet in the next. Long double crochet into this chain 1 space, bringing up a tall loop, finishing that double crochet in the next, chain 1, skip 1, double crochet in the next. And that is my stitch repeat for this row. So when I get to the end of the row, I've worked that double crochet in that last stitch. Now I'm going to be working a long double crochet into that chain one space. And this one's going to be the trickiest one because these chains are kind of floppy. And so you're just going to want to hold those stitches kind of out, working, bringing up a tall loop and finishing that double crochet. And then you see how this chain kind of scrunched under. I'm just going to pull it out and I'm going to work a double crochet in that last stitch. So you can see I worked a long double crochet in each of these chain one spaces from row 3, and I created a new chain one space in between and skipped a stitch. So now I'm ready to move on to row 6. Turn and chain 3, 1, 2, and 3, double crochet in the next 2 stitches. Chain 1, skip that chain 1 space, double crochet in the next 3. Chain 1, skip that chain 1 space, double crochet in the next 3, and just continue repeating that on down your row. I've completed row 6, and you can see that I worked a chain 1, skip the chain 1 space from the previous row, working a double crochet in the top of each of these stitches from the previous row. Now we're going to be continuing repeating rows 3 through 6, and we're going to be alternating our colors every 2 rows. So I would be ready to switch to either a 4th color at this point or come back and pick up color A and alternate every 2 rows. So you can see here that I've worked several rows in this stitch pattern and it's turned out beautifully. I really love how this looks in contrasting colors like this. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial today. Thanks so much for being with me. As always, remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you never miss a new video. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, and Twitter. You can also email me at nanascraftyhome@gmail.com. Thanks so much for being here today. I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.